Have you ever wanted to talk to a computer? I mean, not just type commands at it, but have a real, actual two-way conversation? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to demystify programming by having our very first back and forth chat with Python.
So the big question is, where do you even begin, right? How do you get a machine to listen to you and, maybe more importantly, to actually talk back? That's the journey we're starting on right now.
And here's our roadmap for this conversation. First, we'll teach Python its very first word. Then we'll get it to say a bit more. After that, it's our turn to talk back. And, this is crucial, make sure Python really understands us. And finally, we'll put it all together.
Okay, let's dive right in. Every great journey starts with a single step. And in the world of programming, that first step is almost always saying, "Hello, world." Check this out. This single line of code is a complete Python program. We're using the print function, which is basically just telling Python to say something, and we're giving it the text "Hello World" to say. Oh, and that line above it, starting with a hashtag, that's just a comment for us humans to read. Python completely ignores. And boom, there's the result. When you run that tiny bit of code, this is what the computer says back to you. That's the program's voice, speaking its first words. Pretty cool, huh? So just to quickly break that down again, the print part is the action. It's the command. The text in quotes, which we call a string, is what you want it to say. And again, anything with a hash symbol in front is just a note for you. Simple as that. So we've made the computer say one thing. That's a great start. Now let's see how we can use that same powerful print function to get it to say a little more. The print function is really our main tool for getting Python to communicate with us. Think of it as Python's mouth. It's built right into the language, and it's designed to show us pretty much anything we want on the screen. And it's not just for simple text. We can also use print to show information that we've stored in these things called variables. Here, you can see we've stored a name, an age, and a city. Then, on that last line, we just tell Python to print them all out for us. And here's what you get. Python just grabs the info from each variable and displays it all on one line. It even helpfully adds the spaces in between for us. So simple, but so powerful. Okay, so we know how to make Python talk to us. But a conversation isn't a monologue. Now we need to figure out how to talk back, how we can give the program information from our side. And for that, we need to meet the input function. If printing is Python's mouth, then you can think of inputting as its ears. It literally pauses the program and just waits. It waits for you to type something and hit enter. This is how we make our programs truly interactive. Here's a perfect example. That first line of code uses input to ask the user for their name. Then, whatever the user types gets stored in that name variable. And then, we use our good old friend print to give them a personalized greeting. And this is what the whole exchange looks like. The program prompts you, enter your name, and then it just waits. The user types their answer, in this case, Geeks for Geeks, and bam, the program uses that exact response to create a custom welcome message. We just had our first real conversation. All right, now this is where things get a little subtle, but it is incredibly important to understand. There's a big difference between what we type as humans and what Python actually hears. So, here's the absolute key takeaway. No matter what you type in, a word, a number, a whole sentence, the input function always gives it to your program as a string, which is just a sequence of text characters. Always. This slide makes it crystal clear. Let's say you type the number 88. Python doesn't see a number it can do math with. No, it sees the character 8 followed by the character 8. It's just text. This is probably one of the biggest sources of confusion for beginners, so once you get this, you are way ahead of the game. So how do we fix this problem? The answer is a process called typecasting. It's just a fancy word for telling Python, hey, I know this looks like text to you, but I really need you to treat it as a number. And here's the super simple recipe. You use input to get the text like usual, but then you immediately wrap that function inside another one, like int for integers or float for numbers with decimals. This converts the data type right on the spot. Let's see it in action. Look at this line of code. See how the input function is nestled right inside the int function? That's the magic trick. It tells Python to immediately convert whatever text the user gives us into a whole number before storing it in that variable n. And what's the result? The variable n now holds the actual number, 88. This is huge because it means we could now use it to do calculations, like figuring out the total cost of those roses.
We could never do that when it was just the text 88.
Okay, we have all the pieces for a basic chat now, but what if you want to give Python a few pieces of information all at once? Let's look at one more pro tip to make our conversations a little more efficient. Here is a fantastic shortcut. If you need to get multiple pieces of information, like 2 numbers, you can add .split right at the end of your input line. What this does, as the slide shows, is it takes whatever the user types and just breaks it apart at the spaces. Then, you can assign each of those pieces to a different variable, like x and y here, all in one shot. It's a really efficient way to get more info. And there we have it. We've gone from a totally silent machine to one that can speak, listen, and even understand what you're saying. You now have the fundamental tools for real interaction. So, the only question left is this. Now that you can finally have a conversation with your computer, what are you going to build together?